Welcome to the Health Revolution, the show that leads you to a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity through a sea of fads. We reveal the science behind the strategies that truly work. We explore physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery, the keys to an enriched life. See inspiring interviews with the champions who've conquered life's health challenges. Are you ready to unlock your potential to live with vitality and purpose? Then join the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest together. If you want to change the game, it all starts now. Us today. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison. No matter which way you're tuning into us, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button. We want to stay connected to you. Also, at the bottom of your screen, there is a tab for important show episode notes. Want to bring that to your attention because you're going to want to tap into that as we are making our way through the episode and the information that we are sharing. We want to welcome all new viewers to our show. We're excited that you're here and returning viewers. The Health Revolution is all about all things elevating the physical strength of the physical strength of the body, the emotional resilience, and the mental mastery. That comprehensive approach is going to enhance our way of having an optimal life. And today I want to dive into something, and I can't wait for us to dive into an important topic that's been brewing and buzzing these days, and that is how do we disconnect from the pills, the prescriptions, the dependency that we have on masking symptoms that we are fighting to keep our body where it needs to be. And today we get a chance to talk to the pharmacist who ditched the pills. This is an opportunity for us to dive deep into why we are, as a society, heavily dependent on the medication, prescriptions, things like that. What do we need to do to change, to take that power back and transition and use new tools where we are truly enhancing our health? I'm excited for you to get to know him. Today's guest is bringing all the receipts. Watch this. Let's get to know him. Meet Kyle Rootsaert, known as the Unscripted Pharmacist. A licensed pharmacist turned innovator, Kyle is on a mission to disrupt the status quo. He's calling out a broken system that profits from chronic illness and offering something better: real-time, personalized wellness through the power of wearable tech. As the founder of OttoMetrix, Kyle is helping people decode the signals their bodies are already sending so they can sense, learn, and change. His work is revolutionizing how we approach health one data point at a time. Today, we'll unpack how behavioral change, biosensors, and bold truth-telling are coming together to create our future for preventative care.
This is really exciting.
I'm excited to talk
to you.
Yes, I'm excited to talk to you. This is a hot topic in so many ways. We don't want to depend on prescriptions and pills and the like, and yet we see societal habits going on. So I gotta ask right off the bat, as the Unscripted Pharmacist, what led you to this role? What were some of the events that created that turning point for you?
Oh, that's a great question. And this is really at the core of my being. And that is, it really came from a patient telling me and showing me the problem of the lack of education between the patient and the physician. And I thought there was a lot that was going on there. Apparently there wasn't. And I saw the need for diabetes education. So I went full bore into understanding diabetes. I knew nothing when I started, and I educated myself through as much data and as much medical lectures, just devouring the amount of information that was available 10 years ago on the ketogenic diet as a way of reversing diabetes.
And in your role, obviously you spent time as a pharmacist. What were some things that came up for you that were concerning? Was there anything that was conflicting for you? Like, God, we've got this being prescribed, and I'm delivering this. And what was going through your mind as you were making your way as a pharmacist?
I really believe that a lot of us healthcare professionals have to come to terms with the truth. And the truth isn't something that you really want to learn because you realize that your education left out the root cause. I believe that medicine shines in acute, like critical care as well as infectious disease. Beyond that, I think it's a money grab. When I see these patients walking up to the counter and they sound like they've had a stroke, they're slurring their words, and I'm like, what are you taking? And it's a lady taking a statin. That to me should be such an oxymoron. She's never had a heart attack, so this is for primary prevention. Not effective. Number two, women, you got thrown in with the men. There's no data with healthy women. Like, these statins are so toxic. It affects your brain function. You got brain fog. I've even sat at a diner, turned around and asked the lady, I'm like, are you on a cholesterol lowering medication? Yeah. And I think, you know what? If I'm part of this, which I felt like I was, unfortunately, because I'm dispensing it and not giving them the proper informed consent, but I'm just part of the problem. I had to fix this. I cannot, I cannot, this is where the angst comes from. I hate seeing this because I've seen so much damage from the chronic disease. But more importantly, we're not focusing on root cause and we're just using medication to manage the symptoms of a deeper underlying problem that is right there under our noses. It's available for a $10 test. Fasting insulin is so critically important when we talk about metabolic disease. We can't fix one without the other.
I want to talk about that. What is the tug of war? But first, I want to talk about the tug of war that maybe you find yourself in. Do you ever find that, or can you paint the picture of what the relationship is between pharmacists, doctors, and big pharma,
Healthcare.
insurance,
Okay.
all of that, the healthcare, overall healthcare umbrella? What is the relationship like? How would you best describe the trio?
You're paid for procedures. You're paid for everything but outcome. You are a money making machine to them. But here's the thing nobody realizes the doctors, the physicians, they are sold the same thing I got sold. The only way that you're going to figure out what's going on in healthcare is to go out of healthcare and go, what does the data really show? Why can't I convince a doctor that reversing diabetes is a good idea? You think about the relationship of a doctor to the patient. They're not interested in the cure. They're interested in the copay, and I'll see you next week or next month or a year from now for your annual. And the patient's scared to death. They don't want to ask any questions. They're afraid, right? They're running scared. They're worried about the new diagnosis and the boogeyman. They don't want to see the pharmacist for their new prescription. Trust me. They just want to get their bag and go home, right? But what's crazy is that this is all preventable. And it's preventable through the science that we really have never really nailed down, and that's nutrition. All of our past nutritional science is based on food surveys. We do have last Thursday. Give me an idea of how much protein, how much, like, what do you know nothing. You not, and you want to make this recommendation for all of us. But I'm telling you, the science has been bought. It's a scam. Type 2 diabetes is a scam. I'll explain it to you as simply as I can. Type 2 diabetes is a problem with glucose and insulin. Your glucose levels are high. I've got a solution for you. Don't put glucose in. Don't eat the glucose, right? Carbohydrate, glucose problem. Don't put carbs in. You won't die. That's kind of the bottom line. But here's the ADA recommending not to measure and telling you to watch this balance, do this balanced diet, calories in, calories. You are going to be so frustrated and so neurotic about what is going into your body and calculate. This is not a mathematical problem. This is simply a hormonal problem, and the hormone is insulin. That's what's tightly regulating your metabolism, and we don't measure it. We should measure glucose as a proxy for this insulin. Type 2 diabetes is too much insulin. Why would we give more insulin to somebody that already has an elevated insulin level?
You
Did the daughter, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you brought up statins as an
Yeah,
example of a alarming trend. Obviously, there are many people out there that are prescribed statins. Was that the one scenario that was your own moral,
Yeah.
ethical wake up call to say something? And what was
Mm.
that like for you when you came to that point of, uh-oh, this is, wait a minute,
Yeah.
let's look at this closer.
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of people that are doing a lot of deep diving on this data, but remember, this data is locked up. Okay, the people, the, the big pharma has the original studies locked up. So you're not going to get access to review the actual original safety data. But what we have found with the statins afterwards, after they've come to market, is all of the side effects, like diabetes, like the brain fog, like the neuropathy, like the breakdown of muscle. Statins increase diabetes. That has been well shown. And in these statin trials, magically, they stopped them at 1.9 years because at 2 years, diabetes showed up. And if you read the original abstract to these studies, first of all, they did a statistical like little trickery and made it look like a big number when it's really just a little number. There's a very tiny benefit, if there is any, and it's not through LDL cholesterol. It's much different than that. The real cause of all of this is the one finding that you'll have, and that's insulin. Sarah Hallberg told me back in 2015 in a YouTube talk, she said, ignore the guidelines, ignore the ADA guidelines. And I took that very seriously. I'm like, what is she talking about? Yeah, type 2 diabetes is too much insulin. Why would you give more? Why would I think that I should listen to the ADA? What is their diabetes reversal rate? Zero, right? They don't want to help you. They're not in the business of helping you. They're in the business of having sponsorship that will continue this narrative that chronic disease is expected and we just need a drug. And Sarah, oh,
To you is who drank the Kool-Aid? Is it the doctors drinking the Kool-Aid, obviously euphemistically speaking, or is this perpetual cycle that it feels super challenging to give pushback where needed?
well, there's a couple of routes to come to create this change. You can try to do it through the government and restrictions and okay, getting rid of the food dyes. Okay, that's a great idea. But the elephant in the room is still insulin. It doesn't change it. Insulin is still what we should all be thinking about. If you think of anything about me, you think about insulin. You should draw your insulin level, and that insulin resistance is on a lab slip. Simply this: it's an elevated insulin level. What I've been saying is that there's conflicts of interest throughout medicine, throughout the science. We can spend a long time talking about that. And the fact that cholesterol is not what's driving cardiovascular disease. Triglyceride and HDL ratio, now that correlates very well. And everyone should get that annual lab test. If your doctor won't draw that insulin, get this lab test. This is your lipid panel. This is very important. This is important that you measure so that we can figure out how much insulin resistance you have. Because if you have a lot of insulin resistance, triglycerides, fat in your bloodstream increases and accumulates in your bloodstream. Maybe that's driving cardiovascular disease. And we know that triglyceride and waist circumference correlates very well to cardiovascular disease. But my goal,
For our viewers who don't know what
yeah,
triglycerides, HDL, and LDL are,
right,
can you just briefly define what those three components are with how that relationship
sure,
looks like?
sure. I'll explain it even a little bit deeper. Let's talk about what causes this increase in triglycerides or fat accumulation in our bloodstream. We don't want fat in our bloodstream, right? We want it to not be there. So triglycerides are typically in a diabetic, since they don't burn fat, it sticks around. They're burning carbs instead. Their insulin level is driving them to burn carbohydrates, not just driving them to burn carbohydrates, but increasing the craving for more sugar, more glucose. keeping the brain nice and happy, keeping the glucose levels nice and high, right? So insulin levels will start to rise. That insulin, this is super important. You get this concept. This is the most important concept. Insulin causes the fat cell to lock down its fat. You can't access that fat that's in that fat cell if insulin's standing at the door. So if your insulin level is elevated due to carbohydrates, sugar, and our lifestyle, then we are going to have a higher amount of fat in our fat cells, right? So insulin is driving fatness. When we get rid of the insulin goes away because we've lowered our carbohydrate intake and we've done all that we can in our lifestyle to help insulin stay nice and low for an extended period of time. When that happens, that's the magic. That's when people just lose the weight. That's when it sheds off. You've changed your own biology to a fat burning machine. So if you're a fat burning machine, what happens in all these studies? Triglycerides drop. They don't have a bunch of fat in their bloodstream. These people have very low triglycerides. And that good cholesterol that comes from actually eating more saturated fat, that HDL cholesterol, that one actually goes up. Forget about the LDL for now, unless you've had a heart attack, because that's what your doctor's going to focus on. Isn't that amazing? There's three numbers, and you pick the middle number, which is the LDL, which is the most meaningless thing you could ever freaking measure, right? Because you're measuring LDL. There's more than one type of LDL particle. You can't just go, there's your LDL level, and that's it. No. Matter of fact, my LDL will go up if I do a carnivore diet, which I do. And my triglycerides, though, are not above 125 like most diabetics. Mine is really low, like in the 60s. And my HDL, most men, a diabetic will have an HDL, that good cholesterol is too low. It needs to come up. The only way, these are cardiovascular risk factors, along with hypertension. Guess what drives hypertension? Insulin. Insulin causes the kidneys to hold on to sodium and water. All this fluid retention that people experience because their insulin levels elevated, they have no idea what's going on. You lower the insulin, blood pressure improves. How could it possibly happen naturally without a drug?
Why don't we talk about this more? What's the holdup?
That's the cure. The cure doesn't pay. I have been down this road for the last 10 years, and I've been told by everybody that prevention doesn't pay. So I, I'm not going to change. I did a diabetes support group. I educated myself as much as I possibly could. I go to low carb conferences. I've read tons of books on this topic. I love to talk about metabolism because I think metabolism is what we're all missing. And it's right there in front of us. It is right there. We've got the data, we have the ability, but we're afraid. We're afraid because big pharma has scared the crap out of us about getting away from their, medical merry-go-round copay model. That we should be paying for outcomes. If we're really going to change this system, we should go value-based medicine. We should be paying for the outcome. And I can improve, as well as many other places can improve the outcomes. As a pharmacist, I can work with a physician to make recommendations to modify drug treatment. That is my clinical program that I've done for a long time in a clinical setting. I don't do that anymore. I'm working towards my integrated ecosystem of biosensors. I'm trying to put the data together so that people can go, this is what makes a difference. This is what reverses diabetes. I'd like to talk about the Verta Health study if you have a moment.
We're going to dive deep into that.
Okay.
First, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we've got so much more coming. Please stay there.
So in the calm bag, it has GABA, theanine, and taurine. So theanine, which is B1, which is also in our B complex, but it also helps with the stress response levels. It also helps with the neurological transmitters in our brain. Combined with the GABA, and then you add taurine to it. Taurine is a non-essential amino acid in our body, but it's found in our heart, our brain, and our eyes. So, in my personal opinion, it's very essential in our lives. But taurine has a calming effect as well. When I was battling all my AFib issues, I was taking high doses of taurine because that would help with my AFib. It would help with the palpitations I was having. And it also helped with the anxiety of having the palpitations because I knew what was going on. And so taurine helps a lot with that as well. So those three together create such a wonderful concoction that just really just calms people down.
Introducing Launchpad, the perfect partner to help you launch your dream project to the world. We know that time is of the essence, and we're here to help you make the most of it. With Launchpad, you'll get access to the most advanced digital tools and strategies to take your idea from a mere concept to a fully fledged success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, we have everything you need to make your mark in the world. Launchpad, your ultimate launch partner.
Kyle Rootsaert is our guest today, the Unscripted Pharmacist. We're doing a deep dive into getting a greater understanding of our health and what we can do with some of the chronic conditions that we are facing. And Kyle, before the break, you started to share with us an important data, an important study. Definitely dive into that. What can we learn from what you're about to share?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that can be learned. And then what happens is, here's this beautiful study, in my opinion, and then it disappears. It gets published in some, remote journal that no one looks at. This one was published in the Frontiers of Clinical Endocrinology, and it was pretty obscure. But I mentioned Sarah Hallberg in the 2015 YouTube talk about ignoring the guidelines. I did take a moment there and look at all the money that was being shelled out by big pharma for the people that were writing those guidelines. So she hinted to me that there was some major corruption. But that was the beginning of Virta Health. That was the origin story. And so Virta Health kicked out a 2-year study. And it had a diabetes reversal rate of over 55%. Average weight loss was 30 pounds. Most of this happened in the first 3 months. And you can imagine, like we talked before, the triglyceride and HDL, those cardiovascular risk factors improved significantly. Blood pressure drops, insulin resistance drops, knee pain drops. All these things improved. But why didn't it make front page news? There's so there's so much at stake here. However, I looked at that data and said, this is a cool study. I want to do this. So I'd have these drug reps come into my pharmacy office and say, can you fund this for me? And here's this big old study. And it was the Virta Health study. And what they did is they had coaches in San Francisco coaching patients in Indiana. It was such a cool design. It's like you're remote coaching. You're using telemedicine. You're using what's available. And they're using continuous glucose monitors, CGMs. So they know what the patient's glucose level is all throughout the day. And early on, they're texting. They're constantly texting. Here, did you see this? And so I was, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. If that works, then I want to do that. Next thing you know, we have a clinic. And the clinic, I would give them my 10-minute spiel and say, hey, you need a CGM. Try this CGM, and I'll coach you, and I'll show you. I'll show you what cupcakes do. I'll show you what all your food does. And so they would get all excited. We would do these. Hey, they reversed their diabetes, and I think I had better results than Virta Health. But you can expect the results of diabetes reversal in patients that will actually learn from their own data. The lessons, the micro lessons, are so important. Huh.
Do you feel like that there is a large disconnect between patients understanding their own info, like that a lot of people don't go poking around in patient portal and what the doctor says? Do you feel like the doctor says all, or is there a pattern? Is there a pattern of disconnect, or is there a trend that is really bringing your attention to why we've always struggled with understanding our own health?
It's baked into the system. Physician, you guys see X number of patients. You do not have the time to tell them all about diabetes. Okay, diabetes is like this huge topic, right? It affects everything, every aspect, every system is involved here. It's so all encompassing. Every diabetic only gets 8 hours of education. That's where I started. Okay, I got eight. I got you for 8 hours. Let me teach you as much as I can. A lot of it was just about complications of diabetes, but the disconnect comes because we're not paying for outcomes. It's just go procedures. You get paid for procedures. You get paid for just as many referrals. How many specialties do we have here? How many do we really need? I think what we need is a metabolic doctor, and a metabolic doctor that's going to utilize your data. It's this is what I'm talking about is scary for a doctor because he knows he's going to have to start from ground zero, and ground zero starts with understanding nutrition and metabolism. And you can't go to a dietitian. We're all going to get the same answers if you go to any dietitian, right? They're going to tell you balanced, calorie based, no more than 6 teaspoons of sugar for a girl, no more than 9 teaspoons of sugar for a man. Like, really? Oh, I can only have, you might as well say that, your roundup quota for the day is only, 6 teaspoons. It's really, it's freaking toxic. I don't know why. My personal feeling is those patients that went to my support group and learned as much as they could had the best outcomes. The educated patient has the best outcomes, and I think the data is there and the lessons are there.
So let's talk about how you've been tackling this head on and your footprint in helping this be a better way to navigate. Talk to me about how the overall foundation. Feel free to dive into OttoMetrix, but let's start with how the general foundation of how what your solution is.
Oh, thank you for asking. This is my favorite thing. Nobody
Yes.
asked me this. Like, hey Kyle, what's your life purpose? This is what it is. It literally is. Because when I started doing the CGM in this clinic and I started watching patients and I would take screenshots and show them and be like, hey, you need to scan more. What did you eat? What happened here? Like, and it was I can only do about 10 patients at a time. So it was a little bit limiting and very frustrating because it's hard to be on your phone all the time looking at and reviewing this data because it changes from minute to minute and throughout a day. Like, what is your glucose response and what affects that? And to me, that has been such a fascinating, um, like, educational experience to go through with these patients. Like, hey, what did you eat? And they would learn and they go, you know what? I'm going to eat that earlier in the day and I won't have as much of a glucose rise later. I found there was a lot of patients with sleep apnea. So like, okay, well, that's affecting your glucose. So many things affect your glucose level. Psychological stress, emotional stress, depression, movement, um, the foods that you eat, the lack of sleep that you get, you know,
Do you think that does glucose numbers, or does poor eating affect sleep apnea? Or is it just a
uh,
general correlation, or to be determined?
to be determined by you. I love this. No,
Okay.
this is a great question. No, because it's so cool because I've done this. So, okay, I'll just give you an example and how these metrics will go off, these signals will go off, and I'm hoping that people would sense and then learn their data and then go, you know what, I'm going to change. I'm not going to do that again. So let's say you have dessert. Okay, what does dessert do? And a late night of DoorDash and Netflix binging because you got to catch up to your friend at work, right? So they're on episode whatever of some program. So you're going to go late. You got to catch up. You have that sugar. What does the sugar do? We can see that in your graph, but sugar isn't benign. Sugar is going to raise your body temperature. It's going to raise your heart rate. Now, what are you trying to do? Is you're trying to go to bed. Less of that sympathetic, less of that fight or flight. You're supposed to be going into recovery mode. You're supposed to be like lights turned down. You're supposed to be relaxed, and your body temperature's got to drop 2 degrees. You just had sugar. You just jacked it up 2 degrees. You're not. You shouldn't be surprised why you're having difficulty going to sleep. But imagine a signal that said, "Hey, the next morning, hey, what you do? Don't do that." So now your blood sugar is elevated the next morning by another 20%. So your lifestyle is definitely affecting your glucose level. And let's say you have sleep apnea. Your glucose level in the morning is going to be elevated. Your blood pressure is going to be elevated. Your migraines. You're going to have this labile glucose level. Your blood sugar is going to be skyrocketing. It's going to be going up and down. Imagine up and down. What do you think that does to your emotional well-being? Depressed, stimulated, depressed. Like you're on this emotional roller coaster ride, and it probably correlates very well with your glucose level and probably another metric that we can capture from these cool sensors like a ring. This tells me my HRV. It tells me how anxious I am. It tells
So
me
I
how well
want
I slept.
So I want to dive into some of the different tools that you have, and we have some slides that we're going to prop up on the screen. Talk to us a little bit about what this represents, so that our viewers can get an understanding of what all this means.
This is a CGM kind of a printout. This is what you get when you look at your phone and you're eating something and you scan. So all these little dots in here is when people have scanned. Um, what you're doing is you're going to eat some food, and I think it's really critical that you just experiment. 2 weeks of just playing around, just trying your life out, see what spikes you, and I think you're going to find it very informative. Because what you'll find is when you're on this roller coaster ride, you have these highs and you have the lows. And I had such bad like reactive hypoglycemia when I was 50 pounds heavier. I would start at like 90, go up to 200, and then I would bottom out like 2 hours later at 50. Now 50 feels horrible. 50 feels like I need something right now. I'm shaky. I've got this adrenaline rush. I feel hypoglycemic. This is not a good feeling. I'll do anything to get rid of this feeling. And when people realize that what the food is actually doing to them, they can they can change because they have this data. They can go, you know what? I'm not going to eat that food.
So then
That's it.
this graph represents how, if someone were to be monitoring how their body is responding to meals, that this graph can share more details. So the spikes and the drops can represent maybe different reactions that are happening in the body. I see lunch in this example where there is a spike in lunch and that it's yellow, but then everything else is in green. What would this overall picture represent?
This overall picture would not represent good control. Okay, so if we're going to go into details, the green is where you want to be. This is the diabetic that's out of the range, unfortunately. I don't know the numbers, but they're outside of the range. So what you would say is your time in range. Well, it's not 100%. You're not always in the nice safe range here in the green bars. You're you're getting too high and then you're coming down afterwards. And that tells me the refinement of the carbohydrate. Fiber changes this graph. Fat changes this graph. Do you see how complicated this could get when you start combining foods?
So does
And you
this
go,
mean
okay,
So does this mean
yeah,
that that lunch was a bad lunch, and that maybe this was bad choices, or that it was maybe a lunch of decadence? Maybe would this picture represent that?
absolutely. You're talking about a drop after lunch and feeling crappy. And you're probably getting that 3 p.m. low, and you're looking for a nap or coffee, right? This is a lot of people, but I want you to notice that when glucose is elevated, we're going to make an assumption about insulin. That means your insulin level has been elevated all the way till dinner time, and you are not in fat burning mode that whole time. Had you made different choices and kept in range, and your blood glucose did not fluctuate much at all, in other words, you remove the carbohydrates from your diet, there wouldn't be much fluctuation. You'd have good energy. You wouldn't be low at 3 p.m. looking for a snack and some coffee. There's other tweaks of this that we don't. There's so many levers that people can press when it comes to our metabolism, which is really this glucose, and this is measured with a continuous glucose monitor. That little sensor, the little white dot that you put on the back of your arm, and
So I
that
do.
tells me every 5 minutes I got glucose. I got numbers. I got lots of data.
So I want to show, obviously, our next slide that we have, it adds more input. So as we're pulling it up, talk a little bit about what we're looking at here. So this is a ring that also monitors as well.
Yes. So this is a smart ring. So the smart rings and smart watches, I like the rings. They're easier, but they also have the blood flow in your fingers is a little bit better than the blood flow that we're seeing on people's thicker skin on their wrists, as well as the hair and interference. So the ring really represents lifestyle. How much sleep did you get? Time did you go to bed? What time are you supposed to be going to bed? What's the quality of your sleep? Do you have sleep apnea? What's your oxygen saturation? What's your respiratory rate? These these are lifestyle factors that do affect glucose, and they're important, very, very important metrics. Um, I found several patients using this ring that had sleep apnea. They have a problem with their sleep. They had no idea. Maybe their partner said that they snore and they just kind of ignore it. Like, if your oxygenation overnight isn't ideal, blood sugar is going to be elevated the next day. You're killing yourself silently. And over a long period of time, you're being ignorant to the fact that you may have a problem. So I think everybody needs to have one of these. Um, yeah, combining this very important information about sleep and lifestyle with metabolism, which is glucose, has been kind of my biggest frustration. And that has led me to the OttoMetrix, the solution that integrates lifestyle and metabolism together. So you know what levers you can press, whether it's food, sleep, stress. It's I really like putting this together. But I don't think people understand the utility of these rings because they don't understand the metrics. I want to teach the metrics to people so that they can look at it and go, ah, I know what this means. I can figure this out. This means I'm stressed or not stressed or recovered or not recovered.
There are two other devices we want to show real quickly before the break. The first one coming up here. Talk a little bit about what we're looking at.
This is the ketone meter. This ketones are the byproducts of fat breakdown. So again, when insulin's low, when glucose and insulin are both low, ketones start going up. This is little pieces of fat leaving your body, in your urine and in your breath. A lot of calories are leaving your body when you fix your metabolism. When you get this insulin low, ketones will come up. So this measures beta hydroxybutyrate in your bloodstream in the morning. We don't have one of these in continuous sensory yet. You guys, trust me, there are so many sensors coming online. And yes, as you can imagine, I'm all about getting an insulin sensor, right? I want all the data. I want to know what's going on inside the body. Why not? Ketones is a really important part of this. If your ketones are above zero point 0.5, you're in ketosis, okay? And in that Verta Health study, 77% of these patients were still doing the ketogenic diet after 2 years. What's the food pyramid? How many people are still doing this calories in, calories out frustration food pyramid? These
Last thing,
people,
last thing
oh,
I
go
want
ahead.
to show, and I know we're getting ready to go to break, but the last thing I do want to share is this scale. Talk a little bit about this.
Um,
And what's a quick way to summarize what we're looking at?
that's a good question. Especially as we get older, we are fighting anabolic resistance. We're fighting the muscle loss. Okay. When you lose weight, there is going to be some fat loss and there's going to be some lean mass loss. We want to limit that lean mass. That's the bones, that's the muscle, that's connective tissue. We want to increase that because that increase in muscle mass equals longevity, right? And we want to decrease our fat mass. We want to see the fat percentage go down and the lean mass go up. That's why we go to the gym, we lift heavy, we don't go there for days. I'm not a firm believer in the like tons and tons of zone 2 cardio without measuring your HRV. You gotta know recovery, but you need to know your compositional changes, and using a scale can really keep you on track.
And we've got more to come. First, we got to take a commercial break. Stay right there.
Welcome to Renew Laser and Skincare, where beauty meets technology. From laser hair removal and anti-aging treatments to facial sculpting, acne care, and injectables, our expert team helps you look and feel your best with customized, results-driven care. Located in Littleton, Colorado, we offer a comfortable, welcoming space and cutting-edge treatments tailored just for you. Visit renewlaserandskincare.com to book your transformation today. Renew Laser and Skincare, where confidence begins.
Hi, I'm Adriana, and welcome back to Fit Bites. Today, let's talk about eye health and easy ways to protect your vision as you age. Our eyes go through a lot every day, so keeping them healthy is key for long-term wellness. Now, first, focus on nutrition. So foods rich in vitamins A, C, and E, like carrots, leafy greens, and citrus fruits, support eye health and help prevent conditions like cataracts and macular degeneration. Omega-3s found in fish also help with dry eyes. When outdoors, wear sunglasses with 100% UV protection to shield your eyes from harmful sun exposure, which can damage your vision over time. If you spend a lot of time in front of screens, try the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, take a 20-second break to look at something 20 feet away. Now, this reduces eye strain and keeps your vision comfortable. And remember, regular eye exams are essential, even if you don't wear glasses. They help catch issues early and keep your prescription up to date. Protecting your eyes now keeps them healthy for the future. Stay proactive and care for your vision. Stay tuned for more Fit Bites with Adriana.
Pharmacist. Before the break, we were breaking down the different components that can help create that data, the measurements, especially when we're looking at glucose, and then how the body is responding to converting food to fuel and what is most appropriate. So Kyle, I do want to go into your overall tie-in with OttoMetrix. Talk to us about OttoMetrix. I do want to pull up so that our audience can see your, obviously your what you bring to the table. Share, what is OttoMetrix and how does it tie everything that we just started talking about?
Okay, that's a really good question, because it's where the problem kind of started. And so what I was trying to do is connect the rings with the CGM and try to connect as many sensors as possible, and realize that there is no integration. Or you're going to pay a lot of money, or you walk up and knock on the doors of Abbott and Dexcom and say, I've got, just a truckload of money. Can I have the glucose data? And they're going to share very little pieces of it. But getting the integration and bringing the lifestyle and the metabolism together, and allows me to be in everybody's back pocket. I couldn't do that before. I was very limited. And the goal has always been to have the most impact and the greatest improvement in health between now and when I finish this life. But this has been the solution. And integrating the sensors to me is everything, especially as we get more sensors. You guys, these sensors are right around the corner. And if you look at it from an athletic perspective, or look at it from a wellness perspective, I want to continue to bring on more devices as the data is more of it's becoming available. So I don't mean to be a disruptor, and I'm really not. What I'm trying to do is raise awareness and give people really the informed consent of your life. Do you really know what's going on? And I feel like most people say, like, you asked me how I was doing. Like, oh, no, I got a number for that. Like, I'm going to tell you, like, I'm really feeling well, or I'm not feeling well. Imagine how useful that is within a relationship. how do I want to show up for my partner, and how well is my partner doing? Hey, she's got a sleep score of 55. I think today's the day to lay off, right? You know what I mean? It's not the day to talk about some of these big topics. So knowing how you're doing, as well as knowing how other people around you, I think it's a personal thing, and I think this is where health and the future of health is knowing what your data is. What are your signals? What are you missing? What is your HRV? Before you decide to, like, go pump some iron, or you go on this long whatever hike, do you know the state that you're in? Can you modify what you're doing on the fly in the moment? I want these micro lessons because I showed people the data so they can learn and then change. I'm just an educator. This is numbers. This is just data. But I feel like the data is the solution, not a drug. Drugs are, yeah, drugs have been a major disappointment in my life. And it's hard because you realize how much money has been paid and how much time has been spent with no solution. You're not actually helping people. It's hard to feel like you're a part of something you can get behind when you're really just checking boxes and writing scripts and getting people out the door. I
So
didn't
my
want to do that anymore.
my question to you is, so this, obviously, this journey that you're on, spearheading OttoMetrix, the goal of tying all of these together to provide more data to consumers who are now starting to see the value and take power in their own hands. How has this changed you as a pharmacist?
That's funny, Adrian. Yes, that because who wants to hire in a pharmacy the unscripted pharmacist, right? Like, what? This is a career change. I wasn't planning on going here, right? It just came like, here's a problem, here's a solution, here's another problem, here's another solution. I can't stop thinking about this problem and how I'm going to try to. And OttoMetrix really fixes that. It really shows people what's going on and what levers you can press. What can you do? And this is just a little caveat, but there is a lot of studies going on with the ketogenic diet in cancer treatment, and looking at the metabolic origin of cancer and utilizing the CGM as a really critical tool. You think about, after all you could do when it comes to the horrible success of oncology, wouldn't you want to try to do all that you could do to try to stress the tumor on your own? Press some metabolic levers, lower that glucose supply, that fuel supply to your tumor cells, and give it ketones instead, which it can't use, so it dies. That is what we can do. And we're not being told to do that. I think that there's so much evidence to support the benefit of a ketogenic diet. I think the responsibility is now on the medical institution to say why you're not using it.
So the trajectory for OttoMetrix, before we go to break, where are you in the trajectory? OttoMetrix right now, what is first order of business?
It'll be wellness. It will be wellness studies. We'll be starting off with some pilot studies, getting the credibility and the scientific evidence to support it. I can tell you right now, it's going to work. It look, just using CGMs work, but imagine how much more benefit it would be when we can start pressing the levers of sleep and stress. Right? This carries people along that journey, and it literally is a diabetes educator, me, in your back pocket. That's going to tell you. He's not going to yell at you. He's trying to get the best outcome. I'm trying to change behavior because that's where I feel like health is. If I can show you this lesson, I feel like the lesson is golden.
That's
And
fantastic.
to have that lesson, that micro lesson, has to happen in real time. That's the goal, and that's what I've achieved.
That's fantastic. We're going to take a quick short break. Be right back. pills. Kyle, where can we find you in the virtual space?
I'm all over OttoMetrixFoundation.org. I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn under my name, Kyle Rootsaert, but I also have an Instagram account as well as the Unscripted Pharmacist website. So go and sign up, get on the list, the wait list. We should be able to release this, I'm hoping, by the beginning of the year, hopefully by the end of the year instead. But we will be doing some beta testing. We're going to be doing some fun pilot studies. I'm super excited to see the reception of OttoMetrix in the world, because I just feel like there's all these signals. You can't combine this data. The data in the same ecosystem, the same integrate, it's going to take away the connectivity problem. I hate all these sensors and all these apps. I'm sick of it. Like, everyone has their own. Like, if you get a ring tomorrow, you're going to have this app, and you got to download all these things. And it's not going to happen because they won't connect. They won't talk to each other. And that's where I feel like the lesson is the integration. Right here, right now, what's going on in the moment when I ate the food. And that AI is going to learn you. And when AI learns you, AI is going to know how you're going to react to the food. AI is going to give you the right advice, the right notification, the right push, the right nudge that says, this is how you get out of this hyperglycemic episode that you got yourself into. This is the exit. Go for a walk. It's going to tell you all this data.
This is pretty powerful. I could talk to you all day, but we are running out of time. So Kyle Rootsaert, the Unscripted Pharmacist, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Thank you for being here.
It was fun. I love this. I could do this all day.
And of course, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. We want to thank them for their support: Biomed Mobile IV, Dapper No Code, Launchpad, Renew Laser and Skincare, and Synergize Fitness. By the way, we're also on the web. Our website is thehealthrevolutiontv.com. There you can sign up for our newsletter. You can certainly email us for any show episode ideas you'd love for us to cover. Top corner of your screen, you can grab the QR code if that's easiest for you. And as a reminder, you can depend on us to be there for you every Tuesday and Thursday weekly on the Arion TV channel, on E360, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and all the main distribution handles, because that keeps expanding. That is all the time that we have. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We will see you soon.